Hello guys, welcome to my channel, the Collector, and for today's video I'm gonna review the Power Rangers X Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Lightning Collection, Morphed April O'Neil and Morphed Michelangelo. Now let's take a closer look at the box. On the right side there's the portrait of April O'Neil on the MMPR Pink Ranger, and at the left side there's the portrait of Morphed Michelangelo. And if you take a closer look at the side, it's just the continuation of the artwork. And also at this side and at the back there's the product image of these action figures, and at the top there's the logo of Power Rangers and TMNT, and at the bottom is the standard description for a Hasbro toy box. Here is Michelangelo and April out of the packaging. Just to give a brief description or background about these characters, for some of you who doesn't know, TMNT and Power Rangers had a crossover story arc in the comics, and I'm glad Hasbro adapted those storylines and translated in these beautiful action figures. I believe this is the second set of TMNT and Power Rangers crossover action figures that was released. The first set was Donatello and Michelangelo, so if you haven't seen my review on that, you can watch it later. So without further ado, let's proceed. First, let's focus on Michelangelo. I got to say, this figure is not that unique. It's basically the same figure as Leonardo and Donatello. I mean, 90% of the figure was just a repaint. The only unique part on that is the helmet and the logo on his belt. Now let's take a closer look at Michelangelo's helmet. As you can see, this is very identical to the MMPR Yellow Ranger. As you can see, they had the same design of the saber-tooth tiger. The details I really like about this one is the mouth part on his helmet. They really made him look like an actual ninja. And also, as you can see, that there's a detail on the eye. There's a sculpt in there. You can clearly see his eyes. Now let's focus on his body. As you can see, this is basically the same action figure. It was just repainted, but for those of you who haven't watched my review on Leonardo and Donatello, I'm just gonna do a quick review for this action figure. As you can see at the back, there's an intrinsic details on his shell. As you can see, it's really similar to an actual turtle shell, especially those lines. And if you take a closer look on his belt, there's an actual sculpt of a saber-tooth tiger. As you can see, I think the details for this one is much cleaner compared with the original Yellow Ranger. I take a closer look. I don't know if you can see it, but I like the detail for this one. It's much better. And the rest of the body is actually the same with Leonardo and Donatello. And also this part, I want to focus on this focus. As you can see at the bottom of his feet, it actually looks like a slipper or a boot used by an actual ninjas, and you can clearly see his toes, I mean his two fingers on his foot, which is really great. Now let's focus on his alternate head. As you can see, he has a very expressive face. The eyes was painted really well, and even his mouth, that's really good. I like what they did on this head sculpt. It's a little bit cartoonish rather than being more realistic. Oh, sorry. Now let's focus on his weapon, which is the nunchuck. As you can see, this weapon is very similar to the weapon of the Yellow Ranger, which is the power dagger. It's really great that they managed to convert it. They managed to convert the power dagger to the signature weapon of Michelangelo, which is the nunchucks. As you can see, it was painted with a little bit lighter shade of yellow. There's also the, let's focus, there's also the logo of the saber-tooth tiger, but it was not painted with silver. This is also made of soft plastic, so you can actually bend this figure, I mean bend these accessories if you're posing it for a toy photography. It's very flexible. Now moving on with April O'Neil as the Morphed Pink Ranger. Well, basically this is just the same action figure as the original MMPR Pink Ranger. As you can see, the only difference is April is missing the skirt part, and I think it's pretty weird because I'm used to seeing the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Pink Ranger having a skirt. Now I'm not going into too much detail for this one because it's just basically the same action figure. As you can see, maybe, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I think the logo, the pterodactyl logo on this belt, has a better detail than the original Pink Ranger. Now let's focus on April's alternate head. As you can see, it's a decent head sculpt. It has a cartoonish look, which is great. You can see they painted the eyes really well. There's no missed parts. Moving on with the accessories, Michelangelo came with 3 pair of hands. As you can see, the default hand that was attached on the figure, the weapon holding hands. As you can see, he also came with this pair of closed fists, and he also came with this pair of open hands. I believe this will be used for fighting poses if you're doing a toy photography. And of course, he came with this pair of nunchucks that has the power daggers on both ends. Of course, the alternate head, the happy Michelangelo head, and finally he came with this, what do you call this, a swish effect. Basically, you're just gonna put this effect on the end of the nunchuck and it fits really well. For those of you who are wondering on how you can store his weapon, honestly it took me quite some time to discover this, but you just need to fold this part so that it can fit at the hole at the bottom of the holder. Just push it right in and then there you have it, a well placed nunchuck. Moving on with April's accessories. Of course, he came with this alternate head as I've shown a while ago. She also came with this video camera, and it was painted well, especially the lens. I am a little bit surprised with that. She also came with the microphone. For those of you who were wondering why does April have this, well, because she's a reporter in the comics. She also came with this power bow, and I will just like to point out that the power bow for April was painted differently. As you can see, the original MMPR Pink Ranger's bow was painted with white and red, while for April it was painted with silver and pink, and I love it. She also came with this piece of arrow, and it was painted differently because the original one, I believe it was painted with silver, but for this one it's painted with pink. She also came with this power blaster, pretty much the same as the original, and she came with this, call this arrow effect when she's shooting her arrows. She also came with a two pair of hands, as you can see, default hands used for holding her weapons and other things. She also came with this right open karate chopping hand, and she came with this left closed fist hands. Moving on with the articulation, Michelangelo can rotate his head 360 degrees. He can look up that far and look down that far. There's a ball joint at the neck area. His hands can reach to that point. It can rotate 360 degrees. There's also a butterfly joint, as you can see, but it was hindered by the shell. He has a bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow with a pinless neck. His hands can rotate 360 degrees and can move side to side or up and down depending on what alternate hand you are using. He can do the split quite well. He can kick front and kick back. He has a thigh swivel, a double jointed knees with the pinless neck. He also have a leg cut. As you can see, he has an ankle pivot and his feet can move up and move down that far. Moving on with April, or the Pink Ranger. Her head can rotate 360 degrees. She can look up that far and look down that far. Her arms can only reach to that point. It can rotate 360 degrees. She has a butterfly joint. She has a torso articulation, an ab crunch that can look up that far and look down not very far. She has a single jointed elbows. Focus. Her hands can rotate 360 degrees. Her hands can move up and move down or side to side if you're using a different alternate hand. She can do the split. She can kick that far and she can kick back because of this butt part. She has a thigh cut, a double jointed knees with the pin, and she has a leg cut, an ankle pivot, and her foot can move up and move down that far. Michelangelo is standing around 6 inches tall, and April is standing around 5.8 inches tall. Here is Mikey and April side by side with their Mighty Morphin Power Rangers counterpart. Here is Mikey and April with the rest of the TMNT gang, Leonardo and Donatello. And finally, here is Mikey and April side by side with the Marvel Legends Civil Warrior. To conclude my video, these are pretty decent action figures, especially Michelangelo. Of course, if you're a Ninja Turtles collector, you must have this one. I mean, excluding the Pink Ranger. And for those who have missed buying the original MMPR Pink Ranger on her first release, and you can finally have a Pink Ranger but without a skirt. So if you're not that OZ about it, then you can have this one. I believe this is the third time they release a Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger on the Lightning Collection line. Of course, if you're a Power Rangers collector, you should buy these two because of the uniqueness of the Turtle Rangers. They've really separated Michelangelo and Raphael so that they can release another set of MMPR and TMNT crossover action figure. As I've said, if you have bought the Michelangelo and Donatello action figure, then you don't have a choice, you must buy this one to complete the TMNT Power Rangers line. The only problem with this Power Ranger and Ninja Turtle action figures is that because of the turtle shell on their back, they easily fall off because it's not balanced. But all in all, I love this figure. So that's it, guys. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe and have a good day.